Welcome to this special edition of Events.com's Ask an Event Pro, brought to you by RunningUSA. My name is Bob Babbitt. With me, one of my favorite people, Mr. Tracy Sundlun. How you doing, stud?
Can't complain.
I love that. So first of all, talk a little bit about, because you came from New York Roadrunners, come out west, and next thing you know, you guys are creating something that changed the world of running, Rock and Roll Marathon. Talk a little bit about the creation of Rock and Roll, because up until then, I don't think there had been a new marathon introduced in this country in a long, long time, and especially something that became a series.
Well, there hadn't been a new marathon created in 13 years.
Yeah.
Since the LA Marathon.
Oh, since LA, okay.
And it was all driven really by the success of the Carlsbad 5000.
Yeah.
And which was Tim Murphy's baby.
Yes.
And I had the opportunity to come and be his junior partner. And everybody said, oh my God, this Carlsbad 5000 is so special. You know, all the spectators are involved and the like. You got to do the same thing for the marathon.
Right.
Well, for those of you that haven't been to the Carlsbad 5000, well, most races, the gun goes off, the fast guys go first, the slow guys go last. By the time the slow guys have finished, the fast guys have gone home, and the fans of the fast guys are the slow guys.
Everybody's gone.
So, what does Tim do? No, you have these series of people's races, and they all finish in this great party area, and you have a great beer garden, you got a band, and then at the end of the day, they take all the fastest studs in the world, and you put them on a spectator-friendly course. And for prize money only, and you can cut the tension with a knife.
It's spectacular.
16 world records, 8 American records, 11 world wheelchair bests in 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing weekend. Okay, do the same thing for a marathon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Great. We'll run the People's Marathon, and then while they're all lying out there comatose in the field, we'll do 2 hours worth of the world's best running around in circles. Well, no.
And block off the city the entire time.
So, but okay, how do we create something new and special? The challenge was, well, we couldn't start this race on noon on a holiday like they did Boston.
No.
You couldn't do it at 11 o'clock on Sunday like they did the New York City Marathon at that time. We're going to have to start it at dark 30. And probably the biggest challenge is you didn't have the ability to start something small and over a period of a long time grow it into something significant.
Got to come out hot. It's got to be
in this
big.
New era
Yep.
of media and PR and hype, you want to be a big dog, you have to start as a big dog.
Which means you got to go get investors. You've got to invest a lot of your own money.
Different part of the game.
Yes.
But the key was, how do you start at the bottom of the big dog category if you're going to be a big dog? So we now had to have a serious goal. Would anybody come out to watch running at dark 30? I don't think so.
Maybe a couple family members.
But would they come out to listen to music? Huh. Probably, okay. Would they come out to listen to music? So we'll create 26 mini concerts and we'll run this race through them.
That sounds pretty simple. Sound stages.
Well, no, I mean, but look, all these guys that are drugged out, they can put on concerts all the time. Why couldn't we?
Exactly. You're sober.
But okay, then how do you pay for it? And that was probably the most significant seismic change in the industry. Because really, up until then, you wanted to put on a running race. You sat there and said, I'll get a couple thousand people at what, $20 a head? I got 40,000. How much sponsorship do you think I can get? Oh, maybe 10,000. So now I have a $50,000 budget. But I can't really spend it until I begin to get it in. And of course, I have to make money or at least break even.
Right.
Well, tell me any business in the world that starts that way, except at that point, running races.
Yeah.
So, Business 101 says you expect to lose X dollars in year one. You hope to break even in year two and maybe make X dollars in year three, and now we're at ground zero.
And that's a total different business model than running or triathlon, any of the sports we're doing.
Existed at that time.
Yeah.
And that was the thought. So we essentially created the original race, which, what music do we pick? Should it be classical?
Yeah.
No, it was rock and roll.
Yes.
So we're going to have 26 mini rock and roll concerts. So we're going to have, the working title, of course, was the Rock and Roll Marathon. But that was a dumb title. You couldn't call a major event a rock and roll event.
Yeah, had to have
what
some,
a dorky thing. Every major race in the world was named after a city.
Right.
Had to be. But of course, there already was a San Diego Marathon. It was in Carlsbad, but anyway, we actually met 3 different times to come up with a better name.
Then rock and roll.
Right. And we failed, and I think Tim also drove the boat. No, this will work. And Tim Murphy, people don't know him. It's unfortunate. But other than Fred Lebo, he really was the greatest marketer to the retail runner of anybody I've ever seen.
Ever.
And
no question about
he
it.
had a feel for it, and it was brilliant.
I remember him telling me when we were sitting at the Nyman's or whatever that place is in Carlsbad, he's like, listen, I want to do this new marathon, but I can't do it like Carlsbad, where I grew up from 3,000 to 6,000 to 9,000, 12,000. In this day and age, you got to come out hot. If you want to be a 20,000 person event, you got to be a 20,000 person event. You can't go to sponsors and say, I want to do that in 5 years. That was different.
Well, and candidly, our goal in year 1 was 8,500.
Yeah.
Because the largest inaugural running event in history at that time was LA at 7,500. And so everything was geared to try and get this litmus test,
Yes.
this critical mass number. But all right, so back to the financial plan. We created a separate company.
Yep.
Rock and Roll Marathon, which we hired Elite Racing to essentially manage, because clearly we had to protect it, because everybody said this is the dumbest idea ever. I mean, even some of our friends didn't, believe in it. And so we sold a third of that company to my friends.
Investors and stuff like that, yeah.
Track coaches, avid runners, Olympic medalists. Perhaps the biggest name, Frank Marshall.
Yes.
Who was a Carlsbad 5,000 fan. He is one of the great movie producers of all time.
Yes.
And they all knew that they were going to lose their money, but it would be sort of a hoot. And so now we had $430,000, $450,000 for a third of the event, and that was what we would expect to lose. Thank God we didn't come up with a better name. When we finally announced it at the 100th running of the Boston Marathon. Our tagline was, you missed the first Boston, don't miss the first rock and roll. The first 30 entries came from 17 states and 2 countries, and they were 50-50 men and women.
Never happened before.
At that point, the largest percentage of women in any mixed race was New York, with just under 25%. Most U.S. races were 10 to 15%. Our demographic were slightly older, they were slightly wealthier, and they were slightly more educated. But they were 50-50 women. And that never, ever changed.
Until it became 60%.
Until it grew. We created a theme event. We really didn't, that wasn't the intention, that wasn't what we expected. But clearly, by calling it rock and roll, changed it as opposed to being a destination.
Also, the other thing that rock and roll did, along with Ironman, is you created a new business model where basically cities wanted you to come there. In the past, if you had a running event in your city, the cities were like, you are a pain in my butt, you're blocking off my roads, yes, you're raising some money for charity, but as soon as you get off my streets, I'll be happy. Well, now, with cities having shortfalls and needing money, they're going, wait a second, 37,000 people coming to Rock and Roll, Arizona, that's 90,000 hotel nights, and it's every single year in January? That's a lot of money.
Well, it took a little bit to get there.
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight.
Because when we first came up with this idea, everybody, including the city of San Diego, thought we were nuts.
Yes.
It took us 144 permits to get the first one.
Rock and roll
144. We had to guarantee every hotel room block because nobody was going to travel to run
Yes.
in a dorky name like that.
Right.
Everybody knows charity and running today, but back then, charity was a line item. What you did is you made a donation to a local not-for-profit who
Right.
gave you volunteers.
Right.
This idea of team and training and all of the other sponsored runner programs didn't exist really.
Came in the first rock and roll. 8,000 runners?
5,500.
5,500.
But I can still remember
Yeah.
Dennis Allman from Leukemia and Society of America.
Yes.
Walking in our door and say, I want to bring you 1,100 people from 21 of our chapters to be the official exclusive charity of rock and roll. Now, we didn't do the math. We didn't really know what that meant. Tim just knew, no, I'm trying to get to 8,500 people, and you want to be my exclusive charity for all these, the entire country, and you only want to bring a third of your chapters? No. You got to bring us 4,500 people, and you got to bring all your chapters. And Dennis' jaw dropped and said, well, we've never done that. And this is the largest we've ever done. Yeah, well, you want to be our exclusive charity for the whole thing? You do that. He swallowed, gulped, came back, and he said, all right, I commit to 4,500. We'll bring every chapter. In the end, they brought 5,500. It was sold out. The only way you could get in at the end was to run for team and training. But the key, Tim's thought process, every one of those chapters around the country had their own PR agency. And so essentially he now had 60 different PR agencies selling Rock and Roll San Diego. And we didn't do the math. We didn't understand that each one of those runners was raising an average of $3,500 and netting $2,900 for the cause. And no, it was just bodies. Wait. In the end,
Yes.
5,500 people
Yes.
raised $15.6 million net. Changed the face of that charity.
Yes.
One of the grants, one of the research projects funded was a guy named Dr. Drucker,
Yes.
who with that grant created Gleevec. Our friends are alive today because of that drug. It's like this magic bullet. No, as cool as it is in athletics, knowing what we have done, and we've now raised almost $300 million for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society now, through our sponsored runners in our various events, it's just one of the great honors. Sports for sport's sake means nothing. Sports as to how it can change lives, save lives, help communities means everything.
Absolutely. So, how many rock and rolls are there now? Could you even?
31.
31, okay.
31, 17 states, the District of Columbia, and 6 other countries.
And how many, like, million participants?
About 550,000 entrants a year. And that demographic, it's still much more, it's still over 60% women.
Yes.
And it's interesting, when we've gone to other countries, when we first went to Madrid, and they had 9% women in the Madrid Marathon. Our first year, it's 20. Now it's 30. The same phenomenon has happened in every country about the female participant.
Yes.
And maybe the barrier just isn't there. People think, oh, I can take a picture with every band along the way. It's not how fast I have to go.
Right.
There's been interesting challenges about that.
Sure.
Like in year one, the city said, well, okay, what's the time limit you're going to put on these people out there? And I had just finished doing the awards at the New York Marathon, and I said, we only had 50 people that were slower than 6 hours or 6.5 hours. Heck, let's make it 7 hours, and anybody that's slower than that, we'll just put them up on the sidewalk, no problem.
Right.
Well, there were 1,500 people slower than 7 hours. There ain't a sidewalk in China big enough for that. It was a disaster. But the sport had changed. You know, we were taking our sport to the people.
Yes.
It was the beginning of the growth of the sport, but really the activity of running is so strong, and we certainly do take some credit for that.
Absolutely. Well deserved.
The sport of running isn't so strong.
No.
The front end, the competitive side, we can't mix them. People have to understand.
You have to do it all.
Correct.
You have to do it all. Love it. Tracy, congratulations on everything you've done. And you were inducted into the Hall of Champions last year here, right?
That was a huge surprise, yes.
And well deserved. Congratulations on everything you do. Tracy Sundlun, a true legend. He didn't wear the fro today, but he'll be bringing it tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Hold on, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Cassie, visual designer at Events.com. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to learn more tips.